vraiment dans la maison, dans la vie privée. Et on ne sait pas
Before the Oscars, before the scandals, before she set fire to Hollywood's rulebook, Ingrid Bergman was just a little girl who lost everything. Let that sink in. By the time Ingrid Bergman was 12 years old, she was completely alone in the world. Her mother died when Ingrid was just 3. And then, the one person who gave her love and inspiration, her father, a gentle photographer who taught her how to see beauty in brokenness, was taken from her too, dead. Just like that. No one talks about that part. They only see the fame, the elegance, the classic black and white image of her on screen with Bogart. But behind those famous eyes was a storm that had been building since childhood. Grief was in her bones, loneliness carved her. And yet, she didn't break. Instead, she became obsessed with one thing: performance. Not for applause, but for survival. She poured everything she couldn't say out loud into her characters. At just 17, she was already auditioning for the Royal Dramatic Theatre School in Stockholm, the same one that trained Greta Garbo. But even there, among Sweden's best, she was different. Quiet, intense. She didn't act like she wanted to be seen. She acted like she needed to be heard. No one expected this orphan girl to become a global icon, but what came next would shock even the coldest hearts in Hollywood. She arrived in America like a whisper, but within weeks, she was a storm no one could ignore. When Ingrid landed in Hollywood in 1939, most studio executives thought she was a mistake. She didn't wear heavy makeup. She refused to pluck her eyebrows. She had an accent. And most outrageous of all, she wanted to be photographed from her good side. That was unheard of. Back then, Hollywood women were manufactured like dolls, flawless, rehearsed, and fake. Ingrid Bergman was none of those things. She was raw, honest, human, and American audiences couldn't look away. Her first big US role in Intermezzo wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural reset. Critics called her too natural. Viewers called her unforgettable. Producers, they saw dollar signs. But as her star rose, so did the whispers. Some insiders said she was too smart, too private, too opinionated. She didn't play the press. She didn't party with the elite. And she definitely didn't flirt her way to the top. She acted, like her life depended on it. Then came Casablanca, a film that would etch her into cinematic history forever. Her role as Ilsa, torn between love and duty, wasn't just fiction, it was a mirror. Because off-screen, Ingrid was keeping a secret that would soon explode into one of the biggest scandals in Hollywood history. A secret that involved betrayal, an affair across continents, and the total destruction of her public image. But we're not there yet. First, she had to win an Oscar. Then she had to destroy her reputation, on purpose. She won an Oscar for playing a woman going insane, while her own life was about to fall apart for real. In the early 1940s, Ingrid Bergman wasn't just a movie star, she was the movie star. She lit up the screen in ways no one had seen before, without theatrics, without fakery. Films like Casablanca, Spellbound, and For Whom the Bell Tolls turned her into Hollywood royalty. But then came Gaslight, and everything changed. In Gaslight, Ingrid played a wife slowly manipulated into thinking she's losing her mind. It was chilling, raw, terrifying, and too real. Because behind the camera, she was starting to question everything. Not just her marriage, not just her fame, but the entire illusion she had built. Fame was beginning to feel like a prison. Applause, like a cage. Every perfect photo op and red carpet appearance was a lie she didn't want to keep telling. And while the world handed her an Academy Award for losing her mind on screen, off-screen, she was secretly planning to burn the entire Hollywood system to the ground. She had it all: a husband, an Oscar, worldwide fame. And she threw it all away for a man she'd never even met. Roberto Rossellini, Italian director, genius, rebel. Ingrid wrote him a letter in 1948, out of nowhere, saying, "If you need an actress who speaks English, German, French, and Swedish, and who is very brave, I would love to work with you." He said yes. And that yes changed everything. At the time, Ingrid was still married to a respected neurosurgeon. Her public image, pure, saintly, untouchable. The ideal woman of the 1940s. And then, she got pregnant by Rossellini. Before her divorce was even finalized, the world went ballistic. US senators called her a powerful influence for evil. She was banned from American screens. Talk shows blacklisted her. Hollywood washed its hands of her. They didn't just cancel her, they erased her. But Ingrid didn't apologize. She didn't cry on camera. She didn't beg to be forgiven. She left. She moved to Italy, married Rossellini, had 3 children, and made the most radical, art house, uncommercial films of her life. She lost everything the industry gave her, and she didn't care, because for the first time, she was free. She didn't just break Hollywood's rules, she spit on them, left the country, and reinvented cinema from scratch. While America called her a disgrace, Italy called her divine. With Roberto Rossellini, Ingrid Bergman created a new kind of film. Raw, chaotic, unscripted. It was nothing like the polished, fantasy-driven Hollywood world she had walked away from. Their first movie together, Stromboli, wasn't just controversial, it was a declaration of war on everything conventional. No glamour, no makeup, no polished scripts. Just real people, real pain, and a volcanic island erupting in the background. Literally and metaphorically. Critics didn't know what to make of it. Audiences were confused, but filmmakers, they were taking notes. Stromboli, Europa 51, and Journey to Italy became the blueprint for European neorealism. Gritty, emotional storytelling that didn't care if you were comfortable. These weren't box office smashes. They were artistic bombs dropped on the industry. Meanwhile, her personal life was just as explosive. She had 3 children with Rossellini, including the future icon Isabella Rossellini, but the relationship was never peaceful. It was fueled by passion, but also by pressure, jealousy, and cultural chaos. By 1957, the marriage had unraveled. Once again, Ingrid found herself alone, with 3 children, a ruined Hollywood career, and nothing left to lose. So what did she do? She came back, and this time, she didn't ask for permission. She was blacklisted, disgraced, and exiled. And then she won another Oscar on her first try back. Imagine this. You've been exiled from Hollywood for nearly a decade. Your name is a cautionary tale. And suddenly you return, not to beg, but to own the room. That was Ingrid Bergman in 1956. Her film, Anastasia. Her performance, breathtaking. The moment she walked back on screen, it was as if nothing had changed. But everything had. She wasn't just acting, she was making a statement. You tried to erase me, I'm still here, and I'm better than ever. She won the Oscar, her second. But this wasn't just about awards. This was redemption at full volume. Suddenly, doors opened again. Studios wanted her. Journalists apologized. Hollywood, once so quick to judge, now praised her courage. And she didn't even blink. She took roles on her own terms. Films, TV, theater, Europe, America. It didn't matter. She wasn't acting to be liked anymore. She was acting because it was in her blood. The world had tried to control her image. Now she controlled her legacy. He didn't just walk into a room. He changed its gravity. And Ingrid? She felt it in her bones. By now, Ingrid had worked with the biggest legends on Earth. Humphrey Bogart, Cary Grant, Alfred Hitchcock. But when she met Gregory Peck, something shifted. It wasn't just his height or movie star face. It was his stillness, his quiet strength, his honesty. In her memoir, Ingrid didn't call him handsome or charming. She called him massive, not physically, spiritually. She said he had a presence that made you tell the truth, even when you didn't want to. You couldn't lie to him, she wrote. He saw through you, but not to judge, to understand. When they acted together, the connection was almost unbearable. She would forget her lines, not from nerves, but because the moment felt too real. Like she wasn't in a scene, she was in something else. Was it love? No. It was something deeper, a reverence, a soul-level recognition, a reminder that greatness isn't about noise, but presence. Even years later, she couldn't speak of him without awe. He had left a mark, not just as a co-star, but as a mirror to everything she valued: quiet dignity, moral courage, and emotional truth. And in a world built on illusion, that kind of man was unforgettable. While the world watched her perform, she was secretly fighting for her life, and she never let the disease win. In 1974, while performing on stage in London, Ingrid Bergman found a lump under her breast. Breast cancer. She had surgery in secret, quiet, fast, and focused. She didn't want pity. She didn't want headlines. She wanted to work, but cancer wasn't done with her. Years later, while filming Autumn Sonata, the disease returned, more aggressive, more cruel. And yet, she gave one of the rawest, most soul-shattering performances of her career. Critics called it a masterpiece. They had no idea she was acting through pain that never stopped. Then, in 1981, she took on one last role: Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir in A Woman Called Golda. Her face was worn, her body frail, but her performance? Ferocious. She won another Emmy and a Golden Globe. Just months later, she faded quietly. Ingrid Bergman died on her 67th birthday, August 29, 1982, in her London apartment, surrounded by people she loved. By her bedside was a worn copy of The Little Prince, a book about seeing with the heart, about loss, about beauty you can't explain. 1,200 people came to her memorial: stars, legends, fans, family. But one moment said it all. Her grandson, standing in a storm of cameras and chaos, looked around and whispered, "She doesn't belong to just us anymore. She belongs to the world." Ingrid Bergman